Welcome to today's video, and today I'm continuing my lifetime transformation series. This is a practical series about my life, about my lifting journey, and I'm sharing the journey throughout the years, and I'm giving practical examples so you can maybe relate to my journey and learn from the mistakes that I did make. If you didn't watch part 1, here's a card above. I recommend you start from there. And today it's part 2. We have the year 2009 to 2010 when I was 17 to 18 years old. I was in my final 2 years of school. So at 17 years old I did look like this. And this will be the age where if somebody would ask me when you did start lifting, it will be this, 17 years old. This is where my father did buy a barbell with some weights, some dumbbells. He made a bench press at the garage for me, a pull-up bar, a dip station, and that's how I started training at home. So the physique, it looked like this in good lighting. I assume this was after maybe a quick workout. So as you see, it's an athletic physique. You can see some muscles here and there, nothing spectacular. It's on the leaner side. As I did mention in part 1, I was training wall ball from the age 10 and onwards. So I continued until this. And this is the result of wall ball and from time to time a little bit of bodyweight exercises. But it's expected. If you are doing sports on a weekly basis, then you can expect to look athletic. So these would be the pictures before I did start lifting, but they are not the perfect representation of how I was looking. Here are some other pictures in worse lighting. Add some muscle on my frame. So that's how I was looking like before more or less I started lifting seriously. And if you are looking similar like this, then the trajectory is very clear. You have to bulk, you have to build up muscle, and you have to gain weight slowly over time. There's no need to cut. And I'm quite lean in this photo, as you see, but the abs are not visible because the musculature is not developed. Simple as that. So you have to do some ab isolation work if you want to see the six-pack fully developed. It will not be enough to get to a lean body fat percent. Now let's talk about training in my home gym environment at that time. Here you can see the pull-up bar between the staircase. So this is the place where I was doing pull-ups. And as you see, the physique is quite lean from the back. You don't see a lot of belly fat. And there is some decent muscle size here. So I used to do a lot of pull-ups, and this would be the main movement for my back. And I did them frequently and all the way to failure. Simple as that. That was my intuition. And here's the garage gym that I had. So here you can see I was doing bicep curls, and this is a real representation of my arm. It was not big, and I was a little bit on the skinny side, as you see. And here's the bench that my father did build. Here you can see the barbell with the weight plates and some wood on the side, a wooden bench, and this is where I would perform the bench presses. At that time I already did have a camera that could film, so luckily I did film some footage from that time, and you can see how I was performing. For example, push-ups were a staple of mine. Then I did perform the barbell bench press, and as you can see, the form is not optimal for sure. I'm shaking all over the place, not lowering the bar all the way to my chest, not controlling the movement, elbows are flared, so many mistakes were made. But basically I want to show you my exercise selection at that time. After that I did also perform some dumbbell flies. Also not correctly, I was way overextending here, but it was done with very light weights, so I didn't injure myself. Then I did the dumbbell pullover with the light weight, and I didn't know what I was targeting there. Was it my chest? Was it my triceps? Was it my lats? So no clue, but I did this movement. After that I did also some leg raises. Then of course I did the pull-ups like I did show you in the picture, and also bicep curls for the biceps. And then I did dips. Unfortunately I don't have footage of me doing dips. And then I did remember I was doing upright rows with dumbbells or with the barbell. So more or less these were the only movements that I was doing. It's nothing fancy at all, just a couple movements. Frequent training all the way to failure with not the best form. That was my approach. If we are talking about leg training, I didn't train them for size because I was training volleyball about 4 times per week in the evenings. So I counted it as leg training, and I was very interested in vertical jump training. So my focus was jump higher, not have bigger legs. That's why I counted volleyball as leg training. And this is the time where I did start my first 2 programs of vertical jump training. The first one was Air Alert and the second was the vertical jump Bible. The first one, it was total garbage, and the second one was decent. If you are interested in my vertical jump training career, then I will link here a video in the card above. You can check it out where I'm talking about everything in detail. So I was very oriented in this vertical jump training, and that's why I started doing barbell squats at home. This quite embarrassing video, but I will show you how I was performing squats at that time. I used to do here box squats and also regular squats, and the form is atrocious. You can see from the video I was wearing a belt, bouncing the bar up and down, not hitting proper depth, leaning way forward, picking up the barbell from a ladder. So yeah, that's how I trained at that time, and this is basically my first introduction to barbell squats, and the goal was to jump higher. That's why I did start doing them. Then at home I did have a boxing bag, so I don't want to show you the video because it's quite embarrassing and cringy to look back at it, but I will show you here a screenshot of the garage, the environment that I did work out at that time. Okay, let's now look at some results of how I did progress over these last 2 years in school. So my mentality was I want to get big, so you have to eat big. So it was eat big to get big, simple as that. So here are a couple of pictures after about half a year of training. So this is how I was looking like. As you can see, I did pack on some mass, some muscle, and also some body fat. So I did make some progress, and as you can see, the head is completely shaved off. And this was my mentality at that point. I wanted to get bigger. I had this drive from within. I was tired of being pushed around, always being the smallest kid. So at the last 2 years of school, when I was 17 and 18, I hit a very big growth spurt, and I also did consume a lot of calories. I did train, and I was getting bigger on a monthly basis. From deep within, I did want to look more intimidating, so that's why I decided to shave my head so nobody would push me around and pick fights with me. So that was my motivation to train. It was shaped from the environment where I was living in, and it was from deep within. So I didn't have any influence on the internet where I was deriving my motivation from other lifters. No, it was from within and from my environment. For example, this is only a 1 month later where the head was completely shaved off, and here you can see how much body fat I did accumulated over only 1 month. So I was stuffing myself day in, day out. At home I was chugging like 2 liters of Coca-Cola per day. With all the calories, with all the sugars, I did eat meat, pizzas, candies, basically all the junk food that you can imagine. And at school, at the cafeteria, I was always ordering the double portion. So every day I did order the chicken with cheese on top, mashed potatoes and salad. Double portion every day, and it was a standard of mine. And this was the idea to bulk up. But as you can see, it's a way too fast of a pace. The stomach is descended, and this is a mistake of not controlling your bulk. It's way too fast. You must be on a slight surplus on a week-to-week basis, just bit by bit. When you are already grown up, it's enough to gain like 100 to 200 grams on a weekly basis, but here I was gaining like a 1 kilogram per week, which was totally crazy and unnecessary. Here are some pictures when I was 18 years old in the year 2010. As you can see, I am getting bigger and the body fat is here a little bit more over control. I did eat a lot, but I was also training a lot. I was training volleyball in the evenings, also lifting then at home, and also my natural metabolism, it was pretty fast. So no matter how much I stuffed the food, I was burning a lot. So if I had times where I was eating a little bit less, then I would burn body fat very fast. But as you see, I was not focused on aesthetics here. I was only interested in getting big, so I didn't have the obsession to get here any abs. And here's a full body shot from the front, so you can look at my physique. And as you can see, I have big legs here. So they are, I would say, even disproportionate compared to the upper body. They are bigger, but I didn't train any legs. I was only training volleyball and vertical jump training. And of course I had genetics to be a little bit more bottom heavy from my family tree, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. And the upper body, it needs to catch up. Then I have a full body from the back. Here it looks a little bit more proportionate, so as you see, the legs are still big from the back, but I had decent back development. But yeah, I was getting bigger and bigger here. And just before finishing school at 18 years old, these were the pictures taken, and I think these are some of my best shots from this time. So here's an image from the front. As you can see, I have leaned out a bit, and you can see here the physique. I have a little bit of chest development. Upper body looks a little bit more developed, but there's still a lot to go. But the most interesting shots are from the back. So here's a lat spread from the back. And as you can see, a very good V-taper, very good lat development. Here is a back double biceps. Also you can see teres major minor, good development in the lats. Also good shoulders. So overall it's very confusing for me, even nowadays, looking at these shots from the back, how good of a development I did achieve only by training intuitively without any plan and pushing everything hard to failure. And I didn't do anything special for my back. Like the pullovers, they were done with light weights, so I don't think it was the reason of my back development. I think I didn't do any dumbbell rows. It was basically mainly thanks to pull-ups, frequent pull-ups to failure, and this is how I got my back. So yeah, if anyone tells you pull-ups cannot develop your lats, your back musculature, then they are flat out wrong, and they are basically, you could say, the king of back development. So you should include some type of pull-up in your workout program. Here's a side tricep pose. The belly is a little bit descended here, but as you can see, I had, in my opinion, good tricep genetics. I don't remember that I was isolating the triceps, only doing the bench mainly. But yeah, the arms were also decent, especially the triceps. And at that time, in the summer, after finishing school, I did discover somehow that you can cut, shred down to reveal your six-pack. So this is the final picture before enrolling in university. And as you see, I did lean down here, so you can see better the definition. The six-pack abs are also more developed, so you can count here, if you look a little bit closer, the six-pack. And yeah, it's a decent physique. It's a very good physique, achieved over 2 years of home training without any plans. So I milked here the newbie gains all the way to the max, considering I had this little information about training and of course nutrition. I did daily cardio, I did cut out all my fat, so I didn't eat any fat. That's how I was thinking. You have to cut out fat to lose body fat, but these are two complete separate things. You need to be in a calorie deficit, not cutting out the macronutrient fat. So this is a recipe for disaster if you want to mess up your hormones. And of course I was eating a lot of protein. So that was my training environment, how I did train in my last 2 years of school. Now I want to talk about a little bit my mindset and maybe the mistakes that I did make in this time period. So my mindset was eat big to get big, and it was blown away out of all the proportions. and there's no need to force feed that self. You must be stricter, well calculating, and you must gain bit by bit over long periods of time. So it doesn't make any sense of going on this perma bulk and over bulking. I did draw the motivation from within and from my local environment. So at a very young age, in chapter 1 I did already mention I was the smallest kid in my school and in my class, and also in the volleyball team. It was males only, very competitive environment, and I was also starting there as the smallest kid. So I had a desire to get bigger, and that's what I did. So at the last year of the school, I was for sure one of the bigger kids in my school and also in my volleyball team. I did achieve my goal. Now this is also the time period where I did start working manual labor in the summers. So for 3 consecutive summers, when I was 16, 17 and 18, I was working in this sawmill for about 2 months, manual labor, and I did start earning here my own money, and it did teach me a little bit of discipline of how I don't want to end up being in the future, because it was a tough job, especially on the lower back. You have to bend there a lot, twist there a lot, pick up all the wooden boards, cut them in half, make all the packaging, etc. So it were tough times, but yeah, somehow you have to start making a living. Then I did continue my habit or hobby, you could say, of gaming. So mainly at this time I was on the PS2, so the PS1 was not that interesting anymore, and also on the personal computer, and especially some online games. So I did spend quite a lot of time gaming. So overall, the last 2 years of school were quite a good environment. I don't have many regrets. The training was on point. I had fun in my life. The only regret was, of course, I did mention you in part 1, I was involved with a circle of friends who did participate in not that good of habits. So they were already drinking alcohol, smoking. Some of them did even consume some drugs. So I had always the temptation around me, but luckily I did try to avoid it as best as I could. But when you are surrounded by such a group, you don't have role models outside. Nowadays you can have a lot of role models also online at other fitness creators, but I didn't have a particular role model at that time for training. So I was always in the temptation to smoke cigarettes and consume alcohol. This was also the time where I started clubbing. So already you could go to clubs at 16 years of age if you had the permission from my parents, or if it was a special night organized for 16 years old. But when I hit 18 years old, then I did go even more frequently to the nightclubs. And I want you to be very careful when you are growing up. Don't fall in the temptation of bad habits of the other people that are surrounding you. They can drag you down a very bad path. So I will show you here the aftermath of what happened. And this was after a night out at the nightclub when I was 18 years old. So here you can see how it can end up. These were taken not at the very first day after it happened, but a little bit later when it got healed a little bit. But basically I was in a nightclub, in a night out. We were drinking way too much, and then I did see a person from my school with which I had a beef couple years back, and I decided to go talk to him. And I didn't have any bad intentions. I wanted to clear the air, make friends with him again, but I misjudged the situation completely. I'm thinking one way, maybe he interpreted it the other way, so he had still a resentment for me. So we left it at that, and I was continuing with the night. And then later I did see from the corner of my eye that he's constantly looking at me, talking to his circle of friends. So I did feel from within something is not right here. So then I decided to leave the dance floor and go up to the 2nd floor, where it's more of a private area. I did here sat on the couch. My friend was a little bit more to the side, so we were 2 people at the club. So I did think I was safe, but boy, I was wrong. Then I see a group approaching, and maybe like 5 or 6 people are standing there, and then one guy approaches me. I'm sitting there and he starts talking here face to face. So basically he was here talking into my ear, very up close and personal, because the music was very loud. And then he started talking to me, confronting me why I'm bothering his friend, and I didn't have any bad intentions at all. It's the way that he interpreted. And then he did bring his friends here, but he didn't talk to me. He said here a friend talked to me, and I was explaining I'm not doing anything, I'm peaceful here. And then straight out of nowhere, I didn't expect it, and boom, straight into my face, into my eye. I got there punched. After that, I got already a second punch into my jaw. So I was hit out of the blue. I didn't know how to act. So my instincts did kick in. I did stand up, run away a little bit from the side. But the group of friends, they did block the exit. And this one continued punching again in the face. So once again, I got a few punches in the face, and basically I was in a complete shock. I didn't know how to approach the situation. I was fearing that maybe the others will start jumping on me. My friend was also in complete shock. He didn't know how to handle the situation. And basically the whole group did approach my friend. And at that time, I somehow decided to run away. So throughout all those people, I did run to the staircase below. My friend followed with me. And yeah, that's how we escaped somehow the situation. So yeah, that's the aftermath. So I was hit in the face out of the blue, and that's a good reality check. You don't expect anything to happen, but consuming way too much alcohol, being involved in this clubbing scene, it can lead to very bad outcomes. And as you can see, I did have here the blood flowing out of the eye in the white area. So you can end up also losing your eyesight, for example, in one eye. Luckily this didn't happen to me. But yeah, I didn't go to any hospital. I did grab a taxi and yeah, drive to my home. I was laying there in bed, and the next morning the pillow was full of blood. My mother did freak out of what had happened to me. So yeah, I had a couple of bruises also in my jaw here within, and this would be a very big lesson for me. But my advice is very clear: try to stay away from bad influence and don't participate in the clubbing scene, especially if you will be under the influence of alcohol. You have to be very careful, otherwise it can end up in bad scenarios. So I will link here a complete playlist of my lifetime transformation series. You can start watching from part 1 and upwards. And that's it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed watching it. See you soon next time. Bye.